Hello, good evening. I'm your host, Dr. Doom, with REALISTnews.net. And tonight's broadcast may, here's my warning, may cause a doomgasm. So be careful when listening to tonight's broadcast. This is an article from Rolling Stone magazine, published a few days ago. It made around the internet a few places, and that didn't hang out there too long. Didn't really hear anything about it on TV, but I don't watch that much news on TV, so I don't know if they talked about it. The Real Housewives of Wall Street. Why is the Federal Reserve forking over $220 million in bailout money to the wives of two Morgan Stanley bigwigs? Well, out of those 21,000 documents that the Fed was forced to release through the Bloomberg lawsuit, trillions and trillions and trillions went all over the place, mostly overseas, of course. And it looks as if these two ladies created this thing called Waterfall TALF opportunity. Waterfall TALF, T-A-L-F. opportunity, which is some kind of little out of nowhere investment firm. All they had to do is come up with $15 million, and the Fed would give them $220 million. So they took that money, invested it in student loans and some commercial property. Well, as you know, nobody can default out of a student loan or file bankruptcy. It stays with them forever. They have to pay it off sooner or later. It has to happen. So if I gave you $220 million, if I had that, of course, or my friends at the Federal Reserve, my buddies, yeah, right, gave you a damn near zero, very close to 0% interest rate on $220 million for you to invest in student loans, which are several percentage points, many percentage points above zero, or even 0.25, you could easily make quite a few, several, millions of dollars on that investment, not even an investment, the free money the Federal Reserve gave you. So these two wives, in the background of this article, states that they have absolutely no background aside from being married to these two guys, one of whom has passed away, I guess before this even happened, I think. Decide, let's start our own little investment thing. They had no background whatsoever. They were just rich people who know people. And if you know people who are in power, who were appointed by the president, Obama appointed him, Treasurer, Timothy Geithner, Ben Bernanke, you get another term as Fed Chairman. Your president, which includes Bush too, because Hank Paulson was the treasurer, another Goldman Sachs guy, before him. So don't give me the left, right, Democrat, Republican. It doesn't apply. Rich politicians and then us. That's all there is. So they gave, which is why they said we don't want to release this information. We can't release the information. It's crucial. It may affect the markets. Oh, yeah, that's a good reason. Yeah, we don't want you to tell us where you sent that money because we already knew what that would show. And sure enough, without even going through all the documents, I guess, yet, they stumble across some documents in which they gave $220 million to two rich women who just started a brand new company. Only requirement, you got to have $15 million on you as I don't know if it's a down payment for the loan or you put it in a little reserve account. I don't know, but that was a requirement from the Fed. So, of course, they got it. Now, the best part about this is, let's see, I think it's on page 2. I'll just start at the end of this. The technical name of the program that Mack and Karchis, that's their last names, took advantage of is TALF. Which is funny because that's the name that they kind of use for their own business. Short for Term Asset-Backed Security Loan Facility, but the federal aid they received actually falls under a broader category of bailout initiatives designed and perfected by Federal Reserve Chief Ben Bernanke and Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, called giving already stinking rich people gobs of money for no effing reason at all. If you want to learn how the shadow budget works, follow along. And the article in the beginning talks about there's two budgets. One that you and I see, But we recognize that's out of control and scary. And then there's a second one that we don't even know about. And that second one that we don't even know about is what has happened over the last 2 years with this printing of money and giving it out to everybody. That actually exceeds the money that we were already scared about that was on the public books. Now we have both. So, he says this is what the welfare for the rich looks like. You're rich, you're on welfare. Yeah, here's 220 million bucks. No problem. We got you. Taxpayers, you got this covered. So, in August 2009, John Mack, the husband, at the time still CEO of Morgan Stanley, made an interesting life decision despite the fact that he was earning the comparatively low salary of just $800,000 and had refused to give himself a bonus in the midst of the financial crisis. That's a good guy, right? Mack decided to buy himself a gorgeous piece of property instead. You know, he doesn't need a bailout. I got money. A 107-year-old limestone carriage house in the Upper East Side of New York, complete with an indoor 12-car garage that had just been sold by the prestigious Mellon family for $13.5 million. Either Mack had plenty of cash on hand to close that deal, or he got some help from his wife, Christy, who apparently bought the house with him. So the Macks make for an interesting couple. John, who is a Lebanese-American nicknamed Mack the Knife for his legendary passion for firing people, has one of the most recognizable faces on Wall Street. His wife, on the other hand, she's into alternative medicine and has attained the level of master at Reiki, the Japanese practice of palm healing. The only other notable fact on her resume is that her sister was married to Charlie Rose. Oh. It's hard to imagine a pair of people you would less want to hand a giant welfare check to, yet that's exactly what the Fed did. Just 2 months before the Macks bought their fancy house, 2 months before, Christy and her pal Susan launched their new investment initiative called Waterfall TALF. T-A-L-F, the same name that the bailout thing was called. Interesting. Neither seems to have any experience whatsoever in finance beyond Susan's penchant for dabbling in thoroughbred racehorses. But with an upfront investment of $15 million, they quickly received $220 million in cash from the Fed, most of which they used to purchase student loans and commercial mortgages. The loans were set up so that Christy and Susan. Now here's the part you may have more than one doomgasm. This information may give you a doomgasm or two, and is going to make you want to make a double payment on your mortgage bill next month, and a double credit card payment on your next credit card bill. This is going to make you want to do that. Trust me. Really, really is. The loans were set up so that Christy and Susan would keep 100% of any gains on the deals, while the Fed and the Treasury, taxpayer, would eat 90% of the losses should there be any losses. And considering they invested in commercial real estate, there might be some losses. Given out as part of a bailout program ostensibly designed to help ordinary people by kick-starting consumer lending, the deals were a classic heads I win, tails you lose. Now, it says the loans were set up so that Christy and Susan would keep 100% of their wins, and only lose 10% if they lose. We get the other 90%. The loans were set up. Let's stop right there. When a loan is created and there's two parties, the one party we'll call party A, the lender, and then there's party B, the one who wants to borrow that money. Party A, the lender, pretty much writes the contract or agreement and says, okay, Mr. B, or person over here who wants the loan, read over the contract and sign at the dotted line. The person giving the money writes and creates the contract. So if the person, aka the Fed and Timothy Geithner, both created this little Federal Reserve system where they can, that little TAF thing that they create, whatever, they wrote the contract that said, we're going to give you at almost 0% interest rate $220 million. But all you need to have, since you're filthy rich anyways, is $15 million. You have to have some kind of little egg over here. That's not that hard to come up with. You could even find an investor if that was a sweetheart deal you got. Trust me, you could find somebody to get $15 million collected and then tell them we're all fixing to make several $1 million, including myself who has none. You guys who lent me the $15 million are going to make many million. That'll get paid back, and then the other remaining amount that I owe the Federal Reserve back, I'll cover, and then I'll keep the rest of the millions for myself. Wouldn't be too hard to do now, would it? So they created the contract of the loan to you. So it was the Federal Reserve's idea, who's supposed to be helping the economy, the American people, our government. It's their idea, and it's their bright decision that says, hey, let's make it so that if you do good in the investments you decide, because it's just a gamble, any investment can go bad, including student loans. If no one's paying, they may have to pay it, but if it takes 20 or 30 years to pay it, you still lose. Commercial real estate, that's not a good investment as far as I'm concerned. So if they lose, if you guys lose, we're going to cover up to 90%. You cover the other 10% of your losses, of course. If you win, you get it all. You keep it all. Any profit above and beyond the $220 million that you owe us back, it's all yours. Taxpayers don't see any of that. So that, what I just explained to you, should make you really want to go out and feel really good about making that house payment. Make a double payment on your overextended or overpriced house, most likely severely overpriced, that you owe on it, yet what it's worth is so far from reality, you have to question yourself sometimes, why am I even paying this? This is like, doesn't make sense. Why am I paying this? And I would agree. Why are you paying it if that's the case? Credit cards, again, you feel like making a double payment now, don't you? You feel great. That was a great story. I feel good. And in reality, let's be honest here, I'm just kidding, but it sucks because the rest of us are all struggling. We don't get this money. We're the poor people, basically, on the bottom. Even if you're middle class, you're still the poor guy at the bottom. When compared to this, I mean, for God's sakes, anyone ever come up to you and give you $220 million at 0% and hand you a contract that says you're only responsible for 10% of any losses incurred, and we'll take the other 90% and dump it on the fucking taxpayer? No. So, that sucks, and that should piss you off. And I'm your host, Dr. Doom, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's session. Go make that double mortgage payment. Have a nice day.